Good morning. I'm going to play Bring Me a Rose in the Wintertime. And this is an old folk song, a British folk song. I thought many of you might like to sing along with me for this one, if you know it. And if you don't, you can learn it very simply. It's very easy to learn. The first words are Bring Me a Rose. Next one is Bring Me a Friend. Bring Me a Kiss. Bring me love. Bring me peace. And Bring Me a Rose again. I'll just call it out for you. Bring me a rose in the wintertime, when it's hard to find. Bring me a rose in the wintertime, I've got roses on my mind. 'Cause a rose is sweet most any time, and yet bring me a rose in the wintertime, it's so easy to forget. Next one is Bring Me a Friend. Bring me a friend when I'm all alone, when it's hard to find. Bring me a friend when I'm far from home, I've got friendship on my mind. 'Cause a friend is sweet most any time, and yet bring me a friend when I'm far from home, it's so easy to forget. Bring me a kiss when my baby's gone. Bring me a kiss when my baby's grown, when it's hard to find. Bring me a kiss when my baby's grown, I've got kisses on my mind. 'Cause a kiss is sweet most any time, and yet bring me a kiss when my baby's grown, it's so easy to forget. Bring me love in my autumn years. Bring me love in my autumn years, when it's hard to find. Bring me love in my autumn years, I've got loving on my mind. 'Cause love is sweet most any time, and yet bring me love in my autumn years, it's so easy to forget. Bring me peace when there's talk of war. Bring me peace when there's talk of war, when it's hard to find. Bring me peace when there's talk of war, I've got peace on my mind. 'Cause peace is sweet most any time, and yet bring me peace when there's talk of war, it's so easy to forget. And back to Bring Me a Rose in the Wintertime. Bring me a rose in the wintertime, when it's hard to find. Bring me a rose in the wintertime, I've got roses on my mind. 'Cause a rose is sweet most any time, and yet bring me a rose in the wintertime, it's so easy to forget.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning and welcome to our worship service at Central Unitarian Church. My name is Susan Gempler, and I'm your worship associate for today. Today's speaker is the wonderful Reverend Mark Cutolo, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say. CUC is an inclusive community of all ages, which embraces diversity diversity in identity, expression, and spiritual belief. We come from a lot of different backgrounds. I am an ex-Baptist, an ex-Presbyterian, and ex-Anglican, and here I am with my husband, so Stuart. We gather together each Sunday in worship we find inspiration and hope and renewal among this community of like-hearted individuals, not mind, like-hearted. If you are visiting us in person, please be sure to say hello to one of our welcome hosts. I believe it's Gay and Carol today. They've raised their hands. If you're visiting us online, please be sure to click the link that's provided in the chat and sign the guest book by providing us with your name and contact information. We invite you to stay after service today for coffee, and it looks like there's quite a spread back there. I'm already hungry. And we'll have conversation and connection in this same space. As we prepare to begin our service this morning, I'm asking you, those of you in person, to please silence your electronic devices. I have several announcements this morning. The next caregiver support group meeting is next Monday, March 24 at 12:30 p.m. and contact Aviva Weldon if you have any questions. On March 30th, after service, the pastoral care team and RE will co-host a bingo and bagels event during coffee hour. So read more in the newsletter, and we hope you join us. Mark your calendars for CUC's Passover Seder, and this year it's going to take place on April 19th here. Contact Pam or Jeff to sign up, or there's also a form you can fill out online in the weekly newsletter. CUC's Spring Fling is also coming up next month, April 19 through the 26th. More details will be coming very soon. We're also looking for a volunteer to host coffee hour next Sunday, March 23. If you're able to help, please consider signing up, and you can find the sign-up link in our weekly newsletter, and there's also a physical sign-up sheet in the back this morning. Now, Janice Pevity wants to give us a little pledge update.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning. I'll be very brief. As of this morning, we have 24 pledges. In our current year, we had 70, so we're about a third of the way there. And we are up to almost $64,000. So we still have a way to go. But just so you folks know, I haven't gotten any requests to add pledges or anything. So it looks like a lot of folks are doing it by themselves, which is a great thing. Jeff has his laptop here, and you can come and see either one of us at the end of the service, and if you want to put your pledge in. Okay, thank you very much.
And now let us more formally begin our gathering. Please turn to a person near you and offer them a very warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here with you today. Our opening words are by the East African Medical Missionary Sisters, which are a Roman Catholic religious order whose mission is to provide medical care, healing, and justice, and which this year celebrates its 100-year anniversary of healing presence.
Spirit of God in the clear running water, blowing to greatness the trees on the hill. Spirit of God in the finger of morning, fill the earth, bring it to birth, and blow where you will. Blow, blow, blow till I be but the breath of the Spirit blowing in me. Down in the meadows the willows are moaning. Sheep in the pasture land cannot lie still. Spirit of God, creation is groaning. Fill the earth, bring it to birth, and blow where you will. Blow, blow, blow till I be but the breath of the Spirit blowing in me. Spirit of God, every person's heart is lonely, watching and waiting and hungry until, Spirit of God, humanity longs that you only fulfill the earth, bring it to birth and blow where you will. Blow, blow, blow till I be but the breath of the Spirit blowing in me. Now I invite those who are gathered here in person to rise in body or spirit to sing our opening hymn.
Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words, which are based on CUC's vision statement. We light this chalice to remind us of our dreams, to nourish our heart, mind, and spirit, to work towards a better world for all, to embrace the whole of our human experience, to honor our past and our gifts of the present, to create a community where each of us may find healing, transformation, and hope. We are not alone. Our lives are built on shared commitments, giving and receiving together. Our congregation serves as a place where we intentionally practice this shared living and this interdependence in a culture that overemphasizes independence. One of the ways we practice our interdependence is through our congregation's finances, which depend on the generous contributions of members and friends. We pause each week to recognize this particular form of sharing, each of us giving what we can to support this mission and our vision of Central Unitarian Church. Your financial contributions helps each and every one of us to grow and to serve and most importantly, to live lives centered on love. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you. Please join me in saying our dedication words based on CUC's mission statement. We dedicate these gifts in service of our mission to welcome all into a home of spiritual diversity that challenges us to become our best selves, to minister to one another in love, and to serve the greater community.
We now pause to take a moment to share our joys and sorrows. We do this each week as a way of caring for each other. We invite you to share the joys and sorrows you hold in your heart today. If you are online, you may do so by entering that information in the chat box. Those of you here in person may have already lit a candle and submitted a joy or sorrow, which I will read in a moment. We will also offer a moment for those here to share out loud the names of those you are holding in your heart today. So let us quiet ourselves in order to enter that holy space of listening and of breathing in a breath of life and breathing out a breath of peace. So now I invite you to share out loud the names of anyone else that you are holding in your heart today. We hold these cares, joys, and concerns in our hearts, as well as those that remain unspoken. And now, would you please join me in a moment of meditation? While sitting down where you are, be aware of your feet grounded on the floor. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, scanning your entire body up and down, from your toes to the top of your head. then back down again while breathing out. As you inhale and exhale, breathe deep into your chest so your belly fills with the air. When exhaling, control the air as it leaves your lungs. Make breathing in and out your only responsibility. Listen to your breath as it goes in and out of your nose. Feel it as it fills your lungs. Control it as your lungs empty. Continue to do this for 1 minute. At the end of that portion of the meditation, I will continue with the text of today's spoken meditation, after which we will continue with another moment of silent meditation. Before Jesus was his mother. Before supper in the upper room, breakfast in the barn. Before the Passover feast, a feeding trough. And here the altar of earth, fair linens of hay and seed. Before his cry, her cry. Before his sweat of blood, her bleeding and tears. Before his offering, hers. Before the breaking of bread and death, the breaking of her body in birth. Before the offering of the cup, the offering of her breast. Before his blood, her blood. And by her body and blood alone, his body and blood and whole human being. The wise ones knelt to hear the woman's word in wonder. Holding up her sacred child, her God in the form of a babe, she said, "Receive, and let your hearts be healed, and your lives be filled with love. For this is my body, this is my blood." And that concludes this moment of meditation. For those gathered here in person, I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing our second hymn.
We'll sing it 2 times through.
This rose will open. I know my
Excuse me. Today's reading is from the book of the Apocalypse, also known as the book of Revelation. God's temple in heaven was opened, and the covenant box was seen there. Then there were flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder, an earthquake, and heavy hail. Then a great and mysterious sight appeared in the sky. There was a woman whose dress was the sun, and who had the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was soon to give birth, and the pains and suffering of childbirth made her cry out. Another mysterious sight appeared in the sky. There was a huge red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and a crown on each of its heads. With his tail, he dragged 1/3 of the stars out of the sky, and he threw them down to the earth. He stood in front of the woman in order to eat her child as soon as it was born. Then she gave birth to a son who will rule over all nations with an iron rod. But the child was snatched away and taken to God and his throne. The woman fled to the desert, to a place God had prepared for her, where she would be taken care of for 1,260 days. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, "Now God's salvation has come. Now God has shown his power as king. Now his Messiah has shown his authority." Here ends the reading.
Today's sermon is about a person who is so significant, so well known, and so iconic that no one sermon could be sufficient to discuss everything there is to say or know about that person. Even as traditional religious symbolism decreases in popularity, the legacy of the person known to history as Mary of Nazareth and to faith as the Virgin Mary, among many other names and titles, her legacy remains strong and noteworthy, instantly recognizable despite her many faces and depictions in a variety of media. Because she is so iconic, what do we actually even know about this woman? What insights can history give to us about her life? The truth is that so much of what we know of her is more legendary than fact due to the paucity of documents that we have from that era, none of which she herself wrote. History can say that she existed in the sense that nearly all historians agree that Jesus of Nazareth actually did live, and if he existed, there's no doubt among anyone that he would have had a mother too. She would have spoken the language of Aramaic, a Semitic language common in that part of the world at that time, and her name wouldn't have been Mary. That's our English translation of her name in Aramaic, which was Miriam. She would have been born in the 1st century before the Common Era in the Roman province of Judea under the reign of Emperor Augustus. She lived in the small town of Nazareth, about 18 miles away from the Sea of Galilee. It is thought that she came from a humble background and would have been observant of the Jewish religion, which at that time was based on the worship in the temple in Jerusalem. Since she doesn't appear in any documented historical texts, anything else we know about her comes from the New Testament and other later legends and apocryphal texts. Some of the texts say that she gave birth to her son in the town of Bethlehem, but only 2 of the Gospels say that because the other 2 don't mention Jesus of Nazareth's birth at all. The text says that she was engaged and then married to a carpenter named Joseph, but little is known about him. The Gospels say that Jesus had siblings, but for most of Christian history, leaders interpreted this as actually meaning cousins or step-siblings from a previous marriage. On Joseph's side, of course. We know from the story of the miracle at the marriage at Cana that Jesus revered his mother's advice. But in other anecdotes, Jesus creates distance between him and his mother, saying to a crowd on one occasion that his real mother is anyone who follows the will of God. In another startling anecdote concerning his mother, Jesus went out preaching when the gospel says a woman spoke up from the crowd and said to Jesus, "How happy is the woman who bore you and nursed you?" But Jesus answered, "Rather, how happy are those who hear the word of God and obey it?" In John's gospel, Mary appears again at the end as she stands in deepest sorrow under the cross as she witnesses her son's agonizing execution. Later on in the Acts of the Apostles, she's mentioned one last time when she gathers with Jesus' disciples and brothers in an upper room for prayer after Jesus' miraculous ascension into heaven. One of the interesting things about Mary of Nazareth is to see the rapid flourishing of meaning attached to her life and legacy. She started out as a Judean girl from a humble background in the 1st century before the Common Era, and then she became the mother of a boy who would grow up to become a rabbi, a teacher, and who believed himself to be the Messiah. The Gospels which mention her were written in Greek around the year 80 or 90 of the Common Era, and in those stories, though she is part of a supernatural and miraculous storyline, her humanity is clearly preserved. But not long after that, the book of Revelation is written, maybe around the year 98 of the Common Era. And in that text, which we heard a passage read from this morning, we now see Mary transformed from a humble human woman into a glorious, regal symbol of a kind of divine mother who reigns in the skies in the midst of a cosmic battle between the forces of good and evil. Crowned with the stars of heaven, she gives birth to a child who will defeat the devil, symbolized by the dragon, and when the devil is defeated, then everyone will know that Christ and his church are victorious, and God will evermore protect his people in times of trouble. So, as you can see, in just 100 years, Mary's life story and legacy had transformed that much. It's almost literally a meteoric rise in the championing of her story, unlike really any other woman in the history of humanity. Though we know so little about Mary of Nazareth, the durability of her story and image has crossed the boundaries of centuries and ages. As I said earlier, she has come to be known by many names and titles. Some of these include Mother of God, Queen of Heaven, Mother of Mercy, Star of the Sea, Mirror of Justice, Morning Star, Seat of Wisdom, Comforter of the Afflicted, and the title of today's sermon, Mystical Rose. She has come to be known by so many names and titles, but one category of names that she is known by is of the places where people have claimed to have had visions of her. These titles include Our Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Lourdes, and Our Lady of Czestochowa. People from around the world make pilgrimages to these sites to say prayers, to intercede for healing and restoration, and to gain deeper spiritual insights. While there have been countless Marian apparitions throughout the years, it's interesting to note that the first ones didn't occur until the beginning of the second millennium in the Middle Ages. So for 1,000 years, no one in the Christian world had heard of a vision of the Mother of Jesus. It's also interesting to note that claims of the apparitions of the Virgin Mary are far more common than those of Jesus Christ. It's been speculated that this is because of her role as a spiritual mother and intercessor in many Christian traditions contributes to the frequency of these apparitions. It's also notable that while there are other religious traditions with divine apparitions, the phenomenon is nowhere near as prominent as it is in Christianity, especially within Roman Catholicism, where Marian apparitions play a central role in the faith. It's incredible that a humble Judean woman from the first century about whom little is really known has become the world's most prominent subject of the dramatic and startling phenomenon of apparitions and visions. Of course, when it comes to visions, who is to say which ones are authentic and which ones are delusional or misunderstood? The Roman Catholic Church has historically maintained a cautious stance on supernatural occurrences and has officially recognized only a small fraction of the numerous claims, aiming to shield believers from deception, theological inaccuracies, or even financial exploitation. Furthermore, since these visions are personal in nature and not public revelations, the Church does not obligate its followers to believe in them. Nevertheless, in the era of social media, the rapid spread of unverified supernatural claims has raised concerns within the Vatican about losing oversight of these phenomenon, and to address that, the Vatican introduced new detailed guidelines 1 year ago to assist bishops in assessing alleged supernatural occurrences. As Pope Francis wrote in the papal document, quote, "The Church needs clear procedures. The norms for proceeding in the discernment of alleged supernatural phenomenon that we now present here are not intended to control or even less stifle the spirit," end quote. Moving forward, the Church will no longer formally affirm that a phenomenon has a supernatural origin. Instead, if a visionary event is found to have positive spiritual and pastoral effects without significant negative aspects, it may receive a designation indicating that there is no reason to prevent locals from gaining spiritual benefits from that vision. On the other hand, the document also notes that if a visionary is found to have deliberately deceived others for personal gain, bishops have the power to enforce disciplinary actions, which in some instances could even extend to excommunication. So while visions of the Virgin Mary and the policies surrounding the authentication of these visions might seem like a highly esoteric subject, one of the things about this subject that interests me is that I myself live 1 mile from a shrine where the Virgin Mary is said to have appeared. According to reports, in late October 1945, 9-year-old Joseph Vitolo, while playing near his home on Villa Avenue, adjacent to the Grand Concourse in the Bronx, reported witnessing an apparition of the Virgin Mary. According to accounts, he described her as a young woman dressed in white, standing on a crescent moon, holding blue rosary beads, and bearing a golden Star of David on her chest. The apparition allegedly requested that Joseph return to the same place at the same hour for 16 consecutive nights. The message from the lady was always very consistent and very simple. She said to pray the rosary for world peace. And keep in mind, this is in the era when World War II was just ending. News of these events rapidly spread, attracting significant media attention and drawing crowds of up to 20,000 people, including notable figures such as the singer Frank Sinatra, who donated a statue of the Virgin Mary for the site. And if you were to see photographs of this online, you can find them in black and white. You see the police had to cordon off the Grand Concourse to accommodate the crowds of people who came from all over the region. As numerous individuals flocked to the site seeking spiritual experiences and healing, some claim to have received cures from various ailments after interacting with Joseph, who would pray while touching their heads, though of course there's no medical documentation to substantiate these claims. Additionally, some attendees reported witnessing unusual phenomena, such as candles flickering in a certain way or the sky opening up in a dramatic way, though these accounts remain anecdotal and lack scientific verification. Despite the widespread public interest, the Catholic Church did not officially investigate or authenticate these reported visions. Nevertheless, a devotee purchased the site of the alleged apparitions and established a shrine there known as the Shrine of Our Lady of the Universe. Even after the apparitions ended, Joseph Cutolo continued to visit the shrine daily at 7:00 p.m. until his health declined, and he passed away just 10 years ago in December 2014 at the age of 78. And he's survived by his 2 daughters. One can still pass by this shrine, though if you're not looking for it, it's really easy to miss. The Grand Concourse on which it's situated is a multi-lane thoroughfare with large Art Deco-style apartment buildings on either side. The shrine is not well maintained anymore, and one can see a damaged sign and an old weathered replica of the tablets of the Ten Commandments. The shrine sits on top of a prehistoric rock left over from the last ice age and is surrounded by a fence which is covered in vines. I could imagine that one day there won't be anyone who even remembers the story of the vision, but it's fascinating to know that such an event happened there. What's also interesting about this particular vision is the effect that it had on the visionary himself and those who knew him. Joseph had come from an incredibly humble background. His parents had immigrated to the United States from Italy. His father was a sanitation worker who struggled with alcoholism and who was known to be physically abusive towards his wife and family. Joseph had 17 siblings, but he was one of only 11 who survived infancy. When the visions began, his father would physically punish him, saying that Joseph was a liar. And Joseph would often feel overwhelmed by all of these desperate people who would approach him, asking him, a little 9-year-old boy, to perform faith healings on them. His own father, who also had chronic back pain, would soon be one of those people. Kids his own age didn't know how to relate to him. And sometimes people, kids and adults, would mock him, calling him Saint Joseph. As an adult, Joseph struggled to find his way in life. He tried to become a priest twice, but failed both times. And for most of his life, he made a living as a janitor at the local hospital. As one person who knew him said, quote, "I say to Joseph that the authenticity of the shrine is his poverty. He's never made any money from that shrine," end quote. As we today make our way through the first decades of the third millennium of the Common Era, it's hard to know if Marian apparitions will remain a persistent phenomenon or if it'll be replaced by other spiritual phenomenon. Commenting on the Vatican's new directives on visions, Giuseppe Ferrari, who leads an Italian research organization that studies religious and social phenomena, observes that reports of apparitions are ever-changing. Some fade while new ones emerge. He notes that these days, social media plays a role in their rapid spread, but deeper than that is a human longing for reassurance, especially a desire for certainty about the afterlife. Those longings and desires for certainty aren't going to go away anytime soon, and it's also why I imagine that Mary of Nazareth will also remain a compelling figure for many people. She represents a compassionate and maternal figure, offering comfort and intercession in times of need. In an age of rapid change and uncertainty, many find in her a source of stability, hope, and reassurance, as someone who listens, understands, and intercedes. As Unitarian Universalists, we honor the power of stories like Mary of Nazareth's, not necessarily as rigid truths, but as evolving narratives that help people make sense of their lives. In reflecting on Mary's journey from an ordinary woman to an enduring symbol of cosmic compassion, we are reminded of our own ability to find meaning, uplift the marginalized, and seek truth with open hearts in a world still yearning for hope.
Thank you so much. That was fascinating. Thank you. Please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words based on CUC's covenant. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not our cups, to each other, to act with grace, to hold each other in love, to serve this community and our world. To promise of the heart serves as a reminder of how we live together. May it bring joy to our collective lives. Now let us sing together our closing hymn, number 130, as O Liberating Rose.
Our closing words are by the contemporary American liturgist, spiritual director, and psychotherapist, Diana Now. Blessed be the work of your hands, O Holy One. Blessed be these hands that have touched life. Blessed be these hands that have nurtured creativity. Blessed be these hands that have held pain. Blessed be these hands that have embraced with passion. Blessed be these hands that have tended gardens. Blessed be these hands that have closed in anger. Blessed be these hands that have planted new seeds. Blessed be these hands that have harvested ripe fields. Blessed be these hands that have cleaned, washed, mopped, scrubbed. Blessed be these hands that have become knotty with age. Blessed be these hands that are wrinkled and scarred from doing justice. Blessed be these hands that have reached out and been received. Blessed be these hands that hold the promise of the future. Blessed be the works of your hands, O Holy One.
Thank you very much, Matt. And now let's have some coffee. And the membership committee, I believe, is sponsoring the coffee hour today. And thank you so much. I'm sorry?
RE.
Oh, and RE. Well, then double.